WERQ-FM, HD3 Baltimore.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
A message from Lucy Liu, Lawrence Fishburne, Mia Farrow, and Whoopi Goldberg.
My name is Lucy Liu, and I believe in zero. 25,000 children die every day from preventable causes.
Like not getting enough food or medicine or clean, safe water to drink.
25,000 children every day.
They die because they're young and vulnerable.
They do not have to die, but they do.
They die because through no fault of their own, they are poor.
They die because they suffer in the shadows, their pain unseen by the rest of the world.
They do not have to die, but they do. 25,000 children.
25,000 children.
25,000 children every day.
My name is Lucy Liu, and I believe.
My name is Whoopi Goldberg, and I believe.
My name is Mia Farrow, and I believe.
My name is Lawrence Fishburne, and I believe that number should be zero. Believe in zero.
UNICEF invites you to join the effort. Visit IBelieveInZero.org.
What have you done for your marriage today? For every couple, it's a little different.
Well, I would like to say a hug and a kiss, but it was kind of hectic for us this morning.
We're going to the museums as a family.
I gave her a call and say thinking of her and the kids.
What have I done for my marriage today?
Yeah, I sent my husband a love email.
I think I've avoided all controversial things today.
Is that your answer?
That's pretty much it, yes.
While we're spending the day together, so that's good.
She works night and I work during the day, so spending the day together is actually pretty big.
Yeah.
I suppose I didn't yell at him for anything at all. So? Anything.
I made my wife laugh. That is a big plus for a marriage. Keep her laughing.
What have you done for your marriage today? Small changes can make a world of difference. Get started at foryourmarriage.org. A message from the Catholic Communication Campaign.
Did you know that cancer is the second leading cause of death in the United States? Did you also know that cancer affects people of all races, ages, and backgrounds in unique and different ways? Unfortunately, not everyone knows their cancer risk, leading to many unnecessary deaths every year. But you can do something. By taking a more active role in your own health, you can better understand how cancer may affect you. Benita Hayes, a breast cancer survivor, is doing just that.
Ask the questions. You know, it's your body, it's you. Make sure you ask the questions and get an understanding. Don't give up. I equate it to being a pit bull. Dig in there because it is your health. Just, don't give up on that.
Make healthy lifestyle choices. Educate yourself. It's your best defense. Cancers detected early are easier to treat. For more cancer answers, go to the Moffitt Cancer Center website at moffitt.org or call 1-888-663-3488.
It's hard to talk to your kids about the S word because they're too young to think about bedroom activities. So you try to limit their exposure to adult behavior, but let's be honest.
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ-FM, HD3 Baltimore.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
Good afternoon, family. Welcome to another edition of DMV Daily Radio Show. I'm your host, Hassan Giordano, a.k.a. Mr. Politics, back in the building for a Think About It Thursday program. A panel of 3 federal judges have ruled that boundaries that Maryland Democrats drew in 2011 of the 6th Congressional District unfairly benefited the so-called People's Party, known as the Democratic Party, at the expense of Republicans and voters in that district. Now they have to redo the map by March 7th, or else the courts will appoint a 3-member commission to do the job for them. What's it mean for the recently elected 6th District Congressman David Trone and the Congressional Alliance for Maryland moving forward? Andrew Gillum's chances of possibly winning that Florida's governor's seat isn't over yet. Just got a lot brighter after the counting of more ballots. Now he's within the margin of a recount, and Bill Nelson could also close the gap on Rick Scott for the Florida's U.S. Senate race. We'll take a look at that as well. And now that Governor Hogan has won a second term, what does that mean for the sitting Republican governor? Especially given the fact that he has less members in the House and he has 2 less county execs to count on as supporters. Will we see a hardline governor be more Democrats to pass moderate policies that help move Maryland forward? President Trump is out of control, from forcing the retirement of his so-called good friend, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, because they're no longer besties. And then he has the nerve to snatch the media credentials of CNN White House correspondent Jim Acosta because he just doesn't like the fake news site because they're so mean. And after telling a black woman that her question as to whether he was a racist was in fact a racist question in and of itself. We'll talk about that, as well as a shocking video that has gone viral on Instagram with a young punk, and that's what I'm going to call a young punk at Frederick Douglass High School sucker punching a female teacher. And yet this child was not immediately suspended or expelled. Have you seen the video? And what's your thoughts on this cowardice act? If you haven't seen it, go to Facebook at DMV Daily. You'll be able to see it right there. We're going to talk about that and so much more today, only on the DMV Daily Radio Show. But before we get into that discussion, I need to let you know that this program is owned, operated, and produced, of course, by that great group, DMV Daily Media Group, Maryland's premier communications firm specializing in radio, television, and online podcast productions. Get your message heard each and every day by advertising right here on the DMV Daily Show. Get your business and or message heard by thousands of people on multiple streams: iTunes, Spotify, Alexa, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, Google Play, and on Stitcher now. Make sure you contact us today, info@dmvdaily.news, or at our offices, 443-294-3900. Speaking of offices, we're looking and we're in the process of creating our own radio station and moving into a brand new studio. Equipment that we will be able to report not only live in studio, but live on location in places like Annapolis ahead of the 2019 legislative sessions. And we want to be able to create hard-hitting programs that you'll be able to listen to 24/7 on DMV Daily Radio. We have made up over 3/4 now of the cost that we need to make this happen by Thanksgiving, but we need your help to get us to the finish line. Go to GoFundMe.com/DMV Daily Radio today. Donate $5, $10, $20. Instead of those Newports 100s you're going to buy, go ahead and donate to the DMV Daily Media Group. Trust me, it'll be well worth it when we come up on air December 3rd live, straight from our studios. You'll definitely be able to see it. If you're big time like Ivan Bates, go ahead and give $1,000. We are close. I got to say, we're getting close each and every day. We're getting more and more supporters, not just on the GoFundMe page, but as well as people who are just writing checks to DMV Daily for us, who have been loyal supporters. We definitely want to thank you for supporting, not just that, but supporting this program, tuning in each and every day from 4 to 5 here on WOLB 1010 AM, going to our Facebook page, our Periscope page, our YouTube page at DMV Daily News, watching the program. Even if you couldn't see it live, you go back and you listen to it on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and all this other stuff. Now, mind you, you think we on the popping now. Woo, wait till next week. Next week, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet. But Tell the Truth Tuesday is going to be something you're never going to want to miss. Trust and believe. You're going to kick yourself if you miss next week's shows. Just going to let you know, it's going to take us on a whole nother level. So we'll get into that and so much more later on. But we also want to let you know this show is brought to you by Politicom Strategic Solutions, successfully helping candidates get elected since the 1970s, Politicom has mastered the art of political communications and campaign consulting. And they have become Maryland's premier campaign consulting firm. If you're looking to get elected, 2020 is right around the corner. Now that this election is over with, that's what all eyes are focused to. Make sure you contact them today. 240-242-7505 is the number. PoliticomSolutions.com is the website. Make sure you get in touch with them right now to make sure you see what's going on with that. Now, we're going to go ahead right there and getting right into the discussion. Thank you so much. Yeah, I am sharp. Yeah, you know, what they call casket sharp. Thank you very much, Shane. Now, Jason, oh, you on your fake account. Mark McLaren, I don't care what your name is on Facebook. Since you can't be with us today because you're doing your little due diligence in Annapolis, don't be coming all up on the Facebook starting stuff, you know. But, yeah.
Have Mr.
George,
Troublemaker call in. You can call in, Mark.
George, I thought the same thing. They talking about the sex of the individual who popped the teacher at Frederick Douglass, sucker punched the teacher. I thought it was a dude, too. Ivan told me right before we went on it's actually a girl. And so I see Mark said the same thing and confirmed that. I'm just saying, if that was my son or daughter, I would knock their brains loose and then make them go beg on their knee. I mean, that was despicable. Family, I don't know if you saw it. Go see it, DMV Daily News on Facebook. Tell us what you think. Matter of fact, give us a call. 410-481-1010 is the number. We want to talk about that. We want to talk about what's going on with this damn president. This guy's a fool.
Dude is out of control.
He is.
His actions rival that young lady you saw in school, but at least you can understand her actions. You don't appreciate them. You don't sanction her losing her control. But that's how he was acting in terms of what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You're like a spoiled baby. You don't get your way, and then you're fake news, and you ask a question, and that's a racist question. How dare you ask me if I'm racist, even though you just said not too long ago, in so many words, being a nationalist, that you are. I mean, I just don't get this guy. And if this guy gets reelected in 2 years, we are really lost as a country. I gotta say, look, you talk about the blue wave this past time and all that. It really wasn't that big of a wave. And if that is all that they got come 2 years from now, I'm scared that Republicans are going to have Donald Trump back in the White House for another 4 years. Sad.
Well, it depends on what the electoral map will look like for him. The electoral map is what it is. Now, remember, there were some states, I'm talking about in 2 years from now that Hillary Clinton lost that I think the Democrats can win. They can flip Ohio, they can flip Pennsylvania, they take Michigan and Wisconsin. Then, hey, the Democrat will win. I think Florida will be up for grabs in a way that it hasn't. I think there are a number of people that may have voted for their elected officials but may not necessarily vote for Donald Trump. I think independents and Republicans are going to come out and say, he's too divisive, and he's got to go. Because, within the Republican Party, they have to sit down and be afraid. Because if I'm a Republican, right, I'm not, but hypothetically, if you're a Republican and you sit down and you're going to be reelected in 4 years from now, or say, you're sitting down and saying, hey, Donald Trump's up in 2 years from now. I'm up in 4 years from now. And right now, I watched what some of the Blue Wave did, where they voted just, hey, if you're not a Republican, I'm going to vote for you. So I think the Republicans have to figure that out. And I think there's going to be, I think in 2 years, it's going to be interesting. I think the Democrats will win. And I think provided they have the right candidate. Now, they just can't put anyone out there. They need the right candidate to make a move.
My question is a Republican have the testicular fortitude and the operations to challenge Donald Trump in the prime? See, people don't realize he might not make it through the primaries, right? Just because you're the standard bearer, and we've never seen it before, because typically parties don't challenge their party's incumbent president, right? But not to say that somebody like Larry Hogan may not jump out there and, get a running mate.
Or John Kasich, the governor in Ohio. He can't stand Trump. I think what you're going to have from the Republican Party, you're going to have some old school fiscal conservative Republicans who feel like they need to fight for the heart of their party. That's what I feel they're at that point where you have Flake, Kasich, those types of people who feel that I can't win and go any further based on this party. And I refuse to, quote unquote, be a Democrat or an independent. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him have to go ahead and fight. Now, one thing you know about Donald Trump, I think the man just likes to fight. He's just irritable. He's angry. He wants to fight with everybody. I do feel this, though, whether it is during his presidency, but I feel when he's no longer president, I think the investigations will unearth a lot of material and information, and I would not be shocked to see him federally indicted one day based on some of his actions.
I know one thing. I'd hate to have to call that boy daddy. Brother Gene.
How you guys doing today?
Well, you can be a daughter or a son to him.
I know.
Yeah.
We just right. How you doing, Brother Gene?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm glad you got the lawyer on there because I got a lawyer question. Okay, so and listen to this. So where are the people from West Virginia going to go to buy OxyContin if they can't go to Florida?
That's a lawyer question?
No, that's just something a smart A on that one. So, I'm seriously, where are the people in West Virginia going to go to buy OxyContins if they can't go to Florida? Where are people in the South generally going to go if they can't legally go to Florida to buy the drug that they need?
Well, look, I think what we have seen...
and I really don't want to talk about that.
All right.
I'm sorry. So I know you want to jump in on that one. But listen to this. The young lady who hit the teacher, what is her classification? Is she a special ed student? Does she have a intellectual disability? And do teachers have, that's the lawyer question, do teachers have a disclosure clause in their contract? So in reference to children who are disabled, mentally disabled, right? That's their classification, and they're no longer mentally retarded, right? Their classification, I think since the 70s, is mentally disabled. Mm-hmm. So how does this work, attorney?
Well, I mean, you can't, whether you're mentally disabled or anything, you can't put your hands on anybody. I can give a perfect example. My office represented a young lady who had mental health issues, and she was having an episode and went to the hospital, and it was in the middle of an episode, and she hit the nurse.
Okay.
The state's attorney's office still charged her. So it doesn't matter your profession, that no one signs up to be struck.
Okay.
Now, you're looking at this young lady. I don't know what was going on one way or another, but to me, she definitely can be charged as a juvenile.
Oh, okay. Now, my other question is, and this is a loaded question, and I sort of set you up, but can she be sterilized?
I mean,
I don't know about that one.
I don't know anything about that one way or another. That's something it's Donald Trump's America, so you don't know what's going on with the government. But I think we have to look at her IEP. I think there are a lot of other issues that need to be looked at with that young lady, and what was going on with her. I definitely feel terrible for this teacher. Imagine if that's your mother, and she just came back off cancer surgery, and I have to admit the teacher, she handled it beautifully. She was trying to de-escalate. She was trying to teach the children. I think that maybe that's a window in terms of what's going on in the school system, that you do have some kids that they appear to be acting up, and you do have some teachers who are really, really trying. And, I just think it's a very tragic situation all the way around, but something definitely needs to be done.
Look, I'm going to tell you something, right? I might get some backlash from it, but I really don't care. I'm getting sick and tired of the fact that when things like this happen, had that have been, we just talked about this, had that have been a teacher striking a student, we'd have been in an uproar, right? It would have been all over the news. But when it's a student doing otherwise, we always make excuses and justifications on what, and look, right, children, I understand, they have a different mental capacity than an adult does. So at times they're not going to make the same decision as an adult, right? But it's almost the same as when we keep standing up and, pointing fingers when a police officer kills one of our own, and yet when one of our own kills one of our own, which is happening too many times, we tend to give them a pass and not saying that you don't see the same type of uproar and fierce kind of battlement in terms of going after individuals like that, right?
Well, and I agree. Well, they didn't even. Well, one, that student should have been suspended immediately. Number one. Number two, remember the school police officer that hit the young man, and that officer was charged criminally. And look, if that student's 18 years, then yeah, they need to be charged as an adult. And if they're not 18, because of second-degree assault, they'll be charged as a juvenile, and that's where their case will be handled in the juvenile court, unless the state's attorney's office decides to waive them up to adult court. I mean, look, without a doubt, you have to give a message that type of behavior is totally unacceptable. You saw last week there was a video that was all over the news where there was a teacher in Los Angeles, an older African-American teacher, may have been a substitute teacher, and this Hispanic young man was yelling, screaming, cursing at him, called him a number of racial epithets, and finally the teacher just had enough and wore that young man out. And it was interesting because some people would say, let them say what they want in terms of the kids. And there's a number of people who are like, no, you can't just say that.
No.
I think we have to decide who are the adults and who are the children here.
Well, that's the problem.
And that is the problem.
These children have absolutely no respect these days because there's no disciplinary actions being taken in the schools or in the homes, period. Right? And that is a problem. Now, look, mind you, I think that was a very ignorant comment about sterilization. Look, at the end of the day children are going to be children. They're going to make mistakes. It's our job as parents, as an adults, to be able to teach them better, right?
Yeah.
That includes disciplinary measures, right? Things like that just happened. You gotta send a message not only to the child, but to the parent. Yeah. We keep letting our parents off. Look, my son just got banked a couple weeks ago, right? Went to speak to the mother of the brother and sister, huge, his age, but they're huge compared to my son. And I realized not even a minute into the conversation, where the behavior came from. So I understood for a minute that I was less upset with the child now because I understood where the behavior came from, right? Okay. We had a conversation that really led to nowhere, but then I had an outside conversation with the children that actually had more progress than it did with their actual parent, right? And so that to me shows that there's a lot of non-parenting going on in these households. Yeah. So you can't always put all the blame on the children, but you have to show them consequences, discipline. There has to be repercussions to their actions.
I appreciate what you did, Hassan, because there was a story just recently on the news about a young man who was being bullied by another child. And what the father did was he actually went to the bully and brought him in and showed him love and kindness and actually asked the young man what was going on, what was wrong. And he said, well, I'm being bullied by other children because I don't have any good shoes. I don't have any good clothes. So what the guy did was bought him some sneakers. And now him and his son are best friends now. But he didn't get angry at the child. What he did instead was he showed love and compassion and empathy and actually tried to build a relationship between his son and his son's bully. So I really appreciate that you did something like that you talked to the children and made them understand, because a lot of times the parents don't get involved with their child being bullies, in these schools, and the children continue to do that unless somebody intervenes.
Well, let me get this straight. Oh, I was hot with them kids when it happened. Don't get it twisted.
Of course.
But I was more hot with my child because I knew it came from Malik is not a very big child. People who know him know. But he's got a heart of a lion, and he runs his mouth like you would think he's Mike Tyson, the way he runs his mouth, right? I taught the boy how to fight, but boy, you ain't that built like that. So I understood where it was coming from, but I was hot at the children. But when I talked to the parent, it immediately changed over because I saw immediately these children are not being raised right. Yeah. And so, to be able to have that conversation with the children after that conversation with the parent allowed me to understand a little bit more about these kids and be able to have that conversation, and come to find out it was all somebody else that was lying on Malik, and they ended up believing it, and it was a whole big misunderstanding. But you never know that till you get to the bottom of things like that. But most children ain't worried about getting to the bottom. These days, unfortunately, you know, back in the day when we were young, you fight it out. You know, most of the times you ended up being cool afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes best of friends, but you live to see another day. These days, it's just, let me go ahead, take out the gun, and that's how we're going to handle it, you know, or even the knives. A lot of times we always look at the gun, but a lot of times, especially in younger situations, it's knives that are playing a big role in all this. So anyway, I ain't going to run my mouth all day. Walter, welcome to the DMV Daily Show.
Hey, brother, I'm a transplant from D.C. to Baltimore, right?
Yes, sir.
And as with your statement, let me just say this. The brother wasn't off when he mentioned the eugenics, I think is the word, program that was in this country. Now, we're not talking about Hitler, and we're not being crazy here, but they actually had a eugenics program in the United States where they were cleaning people, okay? Male and female, just like Hitler. He tried to justify with the mentally infirm, but the point is, that brother was not that far off, because why is it that these clowns can go in and shoot up the synagogue, shoot up the church, shoot two black people in a supermarket, and they'll come up with this mental illness for them, but you are attacking those children that have no choice in this matter? They are, you know, Judge Mathis, right? He says, as he came through Detroit, you were either going to be the prey or the predator. And a lot of our babies, as you just said out of your mouth, are caught in between. They don't want to be predators, but they sure as hell don't want to be the prey. So they form their little cliques, and then the toughest one will, let me just make a long story short, said to me, I was walking down the street minding my business, and the little teenage girl said to this fool, I bet you won't hit him. I looked at both of them and I said, after I kill him, I'm going to kill you. And see, but I'm not a teacher. I'm not a police officer. Now, if you think that my response to those two teenagers was wrong, I'll accept that. But I would not. They would not have made it home to you, all right? What I'm saying to you is we, as adults, have to warn them, prepare them as we let them out of our houses, and try to get them ready to be a part of the society, not to be a prey or a predator. Most people are not, brother. I'm disagreeing with you on that, too. Most children are trying to be, they don't want to be the prey or the predator, but they're trying to fit in. And the point that I want to make to you today is this. I saw a police officer beating a brother down on the east side, right? Beat the boy to the bricks. They took his badge and his gun. He resigned thinking he was going to get the white boy treatment. They said, no, fool, you getting, as you just suggested, tried by a jury of your peers. And that was good. But there is no need for you to forget that little teenage girl in Texas in a bikini that got punished by a racist cop. Or the little girl that got slammed from here to there in South Carolina in a classroom. You can't brutalize and look for a positivity out of these people.
You got that right. Well, and you know what? That's a good point in the sense that, Ivan, we see what happened and the unfortunate circumstances in Pittsburgh, right? We saw what just happened, the mass shootings in one of the third safest city in America, in California, right? Just not even, 24 hours, less than that ago. We see these continuous killings by people who don't look like you and I, right? Even though we fair-skinned, but they know it ain't.
Yeah.
And there's no talk about, them as a society. And I mean that to say, had those same killings been done by somebody with a foreign name, with a Muhammad at the end of their name, somebody who practiced Islam as their religion, or somebody who was, God forbid, a part of the Black Lives Matter movement, now all of a sudden it's a different conversation. Now all of a sudden President Trump is getting on TV and condemning Islam or condemning the African Americans for such thuggish behavior. But when one of their own do it, it's justified. And as the brother said, it's more of a mental health discussion than it is about just being just a sick bastard. I mean, that's just what it is.
And they won't call it domestic terrorism.
No, absolutely not. Unless it's one of us.
Correct.
Then it's domestic terrorism.
I mean, look, anytime you deal with this number 45, you're dealing from a place that we just don't understand. We've never seen anything like this. But in terms of how the criminal justice system looks at people that have mental health issues, see, this has been an issue and a battle that I've fought and waged for a long time. They're going to look at, are you mentally competent? Were you competent to stand trial? Is different than are you competent when the actual incident happened. Mm-hmm. And what happens a lot of times, you have individuals who may not have private counsel, don't have the money for an expert to sit down to be evaluated, to talk about their background, to talk about their makeup, to talk about all those things. And before you know it, boom, they get to court, they have their public defender. Their public defender may or may not plead them guilty. They're found guilty. They're starting down the road, the negative road. But then you have, remember that one kid in Texas who had the money, he had the lawyers, he had the experts, and they said basically he came from a lifestyle where he was entitled. I forget what they called it. And they made an excuse as to why he was drunk and killed people. And they gave him probation. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the criminal justice system, you need to make sure you have a justice system that works for everybody and treats everybody the same way, has the same standard. When you sit down and look at the kids in Baltimore City, I think when they step in court, if you live in certain neighborhoods and certain zip codes, you have PTSD because you've grown up with the violence, the killing, the murders. So you already step in the courtroom at a disadvantage. That's something that our court system, our judiciary system doesn't necessarily take into account. I'm not saying you don't hold people accountable, but I'm also saying you have to sit down and look at everything that people have to deal with in terms of how they've gotten to that point.
Speaking of the criminal justice system, your homeboy, the officer that got caught setting up planning the evidence on his body camera that he says, no, I was just reenacting the scene.
It's not my homeboy.
Because my camera wasn't on during the first, is in trial now in Baltimore City courts.
Yes.
With this administration, is he going to get off?
Well, let me put it like this. You never know. I don't know if it's a jury trial or bench trial, but when I read in the paper that the prosecutor from the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office was testifying on his behalf, I was kind of in shock. The prosecutor's a gentleman named Malik or something. The defense attorney, according to the paper, asked him, hey, did he tell you that he just forgot to turn on his body camera and that they can get in trouble for not turning on their body camera? The prosecutor says on the witness stand, at least according to the paper, yeah, something to that effect, he told me. So right then and there, if that, I guess, is one of the state's star witnesses, that tells me they kind of have problems. Because if this officer is telling the state's attorney that, hey, I just didn't turn on my camera, and that Baltimore City State's attorney is the witness, I'm kind of curious as to how they expect to win. Now, they very well possibly win, but I'm just not following that type of logic in prosecuting that case. You need to have some outside individuals who may have heard a different conversation. I thought it was interesting that thus far, usually what happens, a prosecutor wants to start strong and finish strong. And I believe that was probably one of their first witnesses, and you want that witness to be so strong that in the minds of the jury is going to say, well, why are we even here? This joker's is guilty. And they want to finish strong. So I can only assume that they're going to probably call his partners, and his partners are most likely going to say what? Because my understanding earlier, reading in the paper earlier, their response was, oh, well, it was just a reenactment. So if they're saying it's a reenactment, the prosecutor's saying he told me it was reenactment, I don't necessarily understand, unless there's something different, that they have video camera footage from the City Watch system. I don't really understand what all they have. I don't know.
And I don't see them winning this case. I could be wrong, but we'll see. Speaking of cases being won, we're going to also talk about
affluenza. That was it. Thank you, my brother. Affluenza. That was the young man in Texas. That's what he had. Something I've never heard, but I guess when you're rich, you can say it.
Rich like Lisa Mills. She's rich in person. You went down to that casino and won some money?
I haven't went yet, but I am on my way. I will be there tomorrow, and wish me luck. You know, here's the thing about the child in the school. I think that the Baltimore City schools should invest in some type of disciplinary behavior type schools for these children that have these, let's say, disadvantages, these attitude problems. You know, I think that they should be placed somewhere different other than regular public schools, because they disrupt the classrooms, and as you can see, they cause confusion. Now, I applaud Mr. Rowley in California, because the music teacher that whipped the little boy butt after he could take so much, I applaud him. I would be one of those that would sign the petitions to reinstate. That man lost his job after he stood there and took so much. But here's a teacher that's coming back from cancer treatment, a woman, and she's not about to fight these students. And we already know Frederick Douglass, across the street from Mondawmin, so you know what type of area they in. And like you said, Hassan, you already know where a lot of her problems are coming from. They're coming from home. Mm-hmm. You know, and I just don't think that these kids should be allowed to mix with the regular Baltimore City population, because it is kids out there that want to learn. And these kids are just a total disruption. What I'm really interested in hearing, though, is the response of this child's parent. I have yet to hear what this child's parent has to say about her actions.
That would be a good question. Thanks for calling in, Lisa. So, yeah, I would hope so. Somebody has said that they apparently took the young lady down south to Georgia, I believe, to get her away from the environment. And sometimes it's a good thing to get them out of the environment. Right?
She still needs to be charged.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
I agree. She needs to be.
I wouldn't be surprised if that teacher didn't press charges, though. The way she reacted to it, and I wouldn't even be mad at the teacher for not. I still think you still need some type of punishment and discipline. Things need to be expelled, not suspended. But I could see that teacher not pressing charges, especially if that teacher knows that child, understands the situation that may be at home.
I can understand that. But, you know, to me, you need to be held accountable. If you're suspended, you may need to do 150 hours community service. I'm a big proponent of community service. You need to sit out there and understand. Or it could be anger management counseling. In terms of holding an individual accountable, it doesn't mean I'm going to put you in jail. Doesn't mean I'm trying to build upon a record. What it means is that I'm trying to help you never have that type of behavior. And I'm also trying to leave a message that says this behavior is unacceptable. So to me, in the juvenile system, you have the opportunity to give 150, 200 community service hours. You have the opportunity to give them the juvenile services and programs that they need. And you may sit down and find out, for all we know, that young lady may have had issues and trauma within her life that's made her react that way. And therefore, now she's able to get the services. It's not just about taking this child out of school, ostracizing them, and putting them in a corner where they can't get help. But, I mean, it tells me, though, however, she can't come back to that school unless something has changed drastically, and that, to me, is her behavior.
See, me, I'm a little different. To me, I think community service only goes but so far. I'm a big proponent of, look, and I tell my sons this all the time, I've lived that life for you, right? I've been in the prison so you don't have to go. But that still means nothing to them, because at the end of the day, they want to learn, you know, it's trial and error on their own.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of put their little butt in the juvenile facility, let them see for themselves how horrendous it can be, the food and the environment and everything else. Just voluntarily for a month, a week. Let them learn the problem. I'm telling you.
That's Scared Straight?
Malik, see, Scared Straight ain't, I went to Scared Straight. That's a punk move. You send them over there for a couple hours, you tour the facility, you know that the brothers, they mean well, right? Because they're trying to instill something in you, but you know they can't touch you, right? You know that the police right there with you, so ain't nothing going to jump off. And you're only there for a couple hours, and you go right back home to mommy and daddy. No, Scared Straight, send them in there for a week or a month on their own and let them see what it's really like. And Malik would be the first one signed up. I told him this. If I could send you to a juvenile facility, you would go. Only because it kills me that as much as you provide for a child, as much love as you give a child is always going to try to take, you give them an inch, you're going to try to take a mile. And it's one thing to be a kid, but what burns me up is when you want to be sneaky and you want to lie when you don't have to. And you keep doing this behavior over and over and over again. At some point, you got to just, you know what? You want to keep doing that? Here's what people, what you're doing, end up going, right? And let them learn. Now, mind you,
my dad,
I think in 2 days, he'd be ready to come home.
You know, it's funny you say that. So there's a young man who I had met when he was coming to my office, a juvenile. I talked to him, had that conversation. Every young person that comes to my office, I talk to them. No matter what they're there, and when we win, boom. Problem was I won the first case for him. Came back 3-4 months, won the second case for him. Third case came in, gets a little bit of probation. Now he's on his 4th or 5th case. And so yesterday I saw him, and I had that conversation with him. It's the first time he ever looked at me. He'd aged greatly. This kid's only now 20, 21. The kid looks like he's almost 30. He was like, and his first time he said, yeah, Mr. Bates, I really see it. See, he had never sat in jail before, so there's something for that. But I'm also of a belief that I at least want to allow you to build up as we move in that direction. Sometime when you start them there, then they're like, oh, wow, I'm good. Or sometime when you start them there, they get sucked into the wrong crew and something worse happens. Mm-hmm. Some kids don't necessarily need that right away. But I mean, yes, I do understand when they go over there, this young man, he sat in jail 30 days before we were able to get him out. That joker was the first time he ever said he needed help for his issues and problems.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need
Hassan, real quick, did you give your mother hell?
Oh, I did. Yeah, hold on real quick. I know, right?
This is payback.
But see, here's the thing. I respected my mother enough not to lie to her, right? Be all that sneaky. I just did what I did outside of the home, right? And she even sees it now with my son. Like, I never had to go through that with you. Like, yeah, you did just stuff in the streets, and I'm upset about that. You learned your lessons finally, right? Because again, I don't care what you told me. I was going to do me until I decided otherwise, right? But all that lying and sneakiness and all, that's just a whole nother
different
dimension.
Generation.
Yeah, it is. But Sharon, welcome to the DMV Daily Show. Sorry for holding you.
Yes, that's all right. How y'all gentlemen doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Good. That's good. I got to agree with the previous caller that called in. Mm-hmm. Some of these young people out here, they do need to be like in a separate environment because of their anger and their aggressiveness, because you don't know what may be going on in their home to cause them to act like that. But it really needs to be looked into, so the help that they need, maybe they could do a little bit better in their life.
Right.
Yes, because it's just a shame because when my sons was in school, these group of boys used to always want to, fight them all the time. So I had to go down to the school, Southwestern, and tell the principal, I'm not going to allow this. I sent my child out to school every day to get an education, not to be beat up on. Mm-hmm. So his brother seen him in the hallway where the gang of boys was beating the crap out of him. So my son, he jumped in and beat the crap out of them. So the principal had to call a meeting because I said I was going to call the police. And she said, no, don't do that. She said, what we're going to do, we're going to have a meeting. They had a meeting, and I said, troublemakers in this school, you need to get rid of them. And so what she did, she had a meeting. Police was there. The same little troublemakers there disrupting the school. Principal say, I'm going to call out the names. They're starting all these troubles, and the one that's not, now I know they don't have I had trouble with. They stay seated. So she called all the young men who was causing all this problem, and I told her I appreciated that very, very much because my son said, Mommy, I'm going to stand up there and let them hurt my brother like that. I said it's a catch-22 because any brother ain't going to stand up behind and let their brother get beat up. But you know what? The one that helped his brother out, he told me, he said, Mommy, all I want to do is get my diploma, and I don't even want to graduate across the state because of that school was giving us a lot of trouble. So both of them graduated, and they both of them doing good. They both of them married, got families.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's because of great parenting by you. Never short-sight yourself because of that. That's another issue that people don't look at is, and I see this already in elementary school, you got parents who never show up to the school and be a part of the school or the children's schooling until they believe it's an issue, right? The principals have to damn near force some of them people to come up there, and the only time they really want to come up there and show out is when they feel like their child was wronged. But when their child's doing wrong, they don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to show up. Oh, I'm too busy. I got to work, blah, 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 blah. That, that just all goes back. And Shane, I hear what you're saying, but not all approach. You can't say that for all things. Everything doesn't have the same approach. We do need wraparound services and a different kind of environment, but some kids need tough love where other people may need therapy. I know my child needed therapy. He lost his mother when he was 3 years old. Then his whole side of his mother's family's dead, and he's only 12. His best friend got killed with his mother when he was in elementary school. It was one of the kids that was on the TV. When the child was 7 years old, his mother, they were, came up in the house, shot both of them in Northeast Baltimore. It was his best friend. So when you have that type of trauma in your life at an early age, you need therapeutic services and that thing. But everybody is different. You can't judge everybody off the same thing. So I disagree with the system. I don't believe in forcing and putting somebody in a correctional facility. I'd never call the cops on nobody. That's only because of where I've come from. But in the same sense is, I will voluntarily put my little boy in there if he want to act up, he want to be tough. I'm going to send him where the tough guys are, not to give him a record, but just to put him in that environment so he can learn this isn't something he needs to be doing.
I think we're missing an opportunity in some cases because we really should be assessing that in the school level in some cases. We had a conversation on our other program with Patrick where we spoke to, it was the Guidance Counselors Association for Maryland. And they said that, they have several hundred students per one guidance counselor. But I think we're missing an opportunity because a lot of these things we could assess inside the schools and in some cases provide those wraparound services and even in some cases separate those children out of whatever environment they're in to work more and focus more on their behavioral issues. And even in some cases incorporate their parents where we don't see their parents at. But I think we really miss an opportunity and these guidance counselors are overwhelmed with a lot of these issues that are going on in the school, and they're dealing with hundreds of children with these issues.
And that's why I always say, see, Shane, I haven't mentioned it in a while, but Mayor Sheila Dixon had the best plan of any mayoral candidate past time with community schooling, and it's because she was a teacher. Yeah. She understands that.
She was in the system.
You understand the need for community schooling in the city after you've not only been a teacher, but you've been a mayor, and you know everything about this city. You understand some of those things. We have to get to a model like that. So, yeah, I said it. You don't like it, Shane? I'm going to keep bringing up her name. I ain't bringing her up in a while.
Y'all already know that's my mayor for life, so.
Marvin, welcome to the DMV Daily Show.
Hey, how you doing, son? It's Marvin with my boxing, man.
Oh, now that's where you need to say. Matter of fact, that's when I'm going to bring Malik over there, get his butt whipped a couple times in the ring.
I got the answer. I got an alternative boxing program.
That's right, books before hooks.
All these kids need to get all that aggression out. They think they tough. It'll stop all that bullying in school. Because I came across maybe 8,000, 9,000 kids since I started the program 22 years ago. The program worked. You know what I'm saying? I need to get in the school system. The discipline, the camaraderie, the structure, these kids can really benefit from that because I have kids that go to Baltimore City School in my program.
Absolutely.
You know, and it makes sense, man. You know? But,
where's your program at? For the family who doesn't know, tell them what the program is, who you are, and where it's located, how they get more information.
All right, I'm Umar Marvin McDowell. I'm the founder, president, and executive director of the Umar Boxing Youth Development No Hooks Before Books. We're one of the first boxing programs with a legitimate educational component where the boxing and the books are going at the same time under one roof. You know, a lot of people don't associate boxing and thinking, but to be a good boxer, you have to be a good thinker. Like having a strategy, playing chess and everything, right? And it's also give these kids consciousness, and it gives them respect because, you know, if you start a bully off and a bullied person off at the same time, the bullier would see that this kid has learned the same thing they learned, and he will start to doubt himself because this kid's skills will be better than his. And that's how you can, you know, change the kid's mindset and give them respect, because if they see somebody accomplishing the same thing on the same time that they are, it really changes their mindset and you know, kind of doubt their ability, you know, and the kid can feel confident and the bully will get the respect. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense because it works.
Absolutely. And you know what, that's what I understand about, we talk about council president with, you know, the children's fund and all that good stuff, and, you know, the positive thing. But we have programs right here, like Umar Boxing, that work. They clearly work. The data shows they work, and real life shows they work, right? And yet you don't give them the investment in the type of money and resources to expand that type of programming to not only across the city, but into the schools, like your brother said.
I think what we see a number of the people in political positions, they're doing the programs. You have to ask the question, are you doing the program to make yourself look good to the community, or are you doing the program because you want to uplift the community? Some of that money can go to some of the programs that are already in the communities that have been there for years. They've been on the front lines. They can't expand because they may not be into grant writing. They're into servicing the community. And that's why one of the things I really do like is we have a lot of the younger city council members and also individuals wanting to run for city council that know those communities. They know the programs that are there. And that's what's important. I really feel that you can't make the real change that we're talking about in the city until every neighborhood gets on board. And every neighborhood's not going to get on board from just one mayor. It has to trickle down. The neighborhood has to want to say, we're going to make a difference. And when you have a program that you've been running for years right here in the community, and it is making a difference, then you need to make sure the people in West Baltimore know. The people, I bet you everybody in the neighborhood knows about the program.
No, you best believe that.
You know, I'm everywhere in the community, man. I'm everywhere.
Exactly.
You know, and people know. And when you got that respect, you can get the best out of these kids, man. Because they know that I care about them sincerely with no strings attached. All I want is the best out of them.
And you got some champions over there, too. Don't diminish that.
Yeah, you've built some champions. Yeah, Brother Umar. Brother Umar, I know we salute you here at the DMV Daily Show. We really appreciate the work that you do with the children.
Is the female champion? She's still champion?
Yeah, Franchon Cruz. She just won about a month ago. She won the WBC Super Middleweight World Championship. I started her off when she was 15 years old.
I know that's right.
Wow.
Been all over the world and just won all kinds of championships as an amateur. You know, and now she's a world champ.
Absolutely.
You've had any children go to the Olympics?
Not yet, but it's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
You had Tank too, didn't you?
No. I didn't have Tank.
Okay.
But you know.
Yeah, they all come through there.
All these kids got to do is have a chance.
That's right.
And all they got to know, we got to give them a chance, and they got to be around people that can keep helping them give themselves a chance. And that'll change the whole scheme of things in the city.
Well, and also people who believe in them and give them hope. And I think that's one of the things that these kids are missing.
That's right.
People don't believe in them and give them hope. So if you're a child and no one tells you you're going to be anything and you feel like you're not going to be anything because no one's told you anything positive about you, or you like your daddy, you like your mama, whatever it's going to be, and you don't hear anything positive, then they come across you and you bring and breathe positivity and hope, and you see something in them, they are going to respond. You know, I think that's where you really get into a program such as yours that's able to make a difference. Children may not even be interested in the boxing aspect. What it is the positivity. Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, Ivan, I mean, you sound like you get ready to go for a mayoral run there.
Nah, you ain't got to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that.
I can do more in the position that I'm in, man.
Absolutely. Well, once we make Ivan mayor, we make sure you get the proper funding there, brother.
Well, we ain't gonna, we'll help you get the funding, but Ivan won't be mayor.
Thanks, Brother Marv. We got to get out of here.
Thanks a lot, bro. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right, one more call. Don, welcome to the DMV Daily Show.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, I like your show. Just want to say good evening to all you brothers.
Good evening.
And that's a shout at my boy Bates for a second, man. I tell you, this is my opinion, and that's one of man's alone. Man, you should go ahead for that man position, man. Now I'll keep my sister in there for state's attorney, but I will vote for you for the mayor's race. That's one man's opinion. Y'all have a good day.
You too,
all right,
man.
I hear you, bro.
Oh, that mayoral race is going to be off the chain. Speaking of that, next week we'll be talking about the city council races upcoming in 2020. Who's going to be running citywide for city council president, comptroller, and mayor. All this speculation about 2020 is happening right here, starting right here on the DMV Daily Show. Mark will be back. We'll talk about some we may bring in some special guests to talk about that as well. You got to wait and see about that. But we about to get up out of here. We got to go. We got so much more that we was supposed to talk about. We never even got a chance to get into it, right?
Yeah.
But I think today was a good, healthy program that we needed to have this conversation.
Yeah. People needed conversations like that. I said, yeah, people needed to have their say. That video has really bothered a lot of people, and it rightfully so.
Absolutely. So if you want to know more about the DMV Daily Show, go to DMVDaily.news. Watch this program in just in case you might have missed it. Watch the past programs as well. YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Instagram, all that other good stuff at DMVDaily.news. We'll be back tomorrow, free for all Friday. That means we talking to y'all and we having conversations about what's really going on in this nation, in this state, and in this city. But until then, 4 to 5 tomorrow, for my man Jason in the back, my main man Ivan, and I don't know what he called himself now, Jason McLaurin, from my main man Mark, who's out on assignment in Annapolis, the boss of bosses. We gone.
Ivan, take us out.
Davis.
And Ivan Bates for mayor.
This check on traffic is sponsored by Unbound.org. A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of being part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own. Unbound.org. There's a multiple vehicle crash on the outer loop near Perrin Parkway, and that is causing major tie-ups coming in from 95. Stay to the right as you make your approach. Meanwhile, there's an accident on the inner loop near Loch Raven Boulevard, and that's causing delays as you make your way from the 83s. And look out for an accident in the city on Pratt Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. This weather update is sponsored by FEMA and the Ad Council. Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do in an emergency, who to call, where to meet, and what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Expecting clouds tonight, low around 44. Periods of rain tomorrow, high close to 55. Right now it's 56 degrees. I'm Tony Thornton on 1010 WOLB.
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ-FM HD3 Baltimore.
The Johns Hopkins University and Medicine Office of Government and Community Affairs is proud to be a part of the 2018 Bee Expo. And you're invited to stop by the pavilion to gain knowledge and resources to be healthier and wealthier in 2018. Receive health education and health screenings. Get involved with one-on-one and small group discussions about your health. The JHU Pavilion also has resources for job seekers. Recruiters will be on site to discuss current job opportunities and topics including resume writing and interviewing skills. Johns Hopkins is proud to be a part of the Baltimore community and proud to be a part of this great event. See you at the Bee Expo.
If you or someone you know is addicted to drugs or alcohol, please call this toll-free number right now. 800-342-9980. That's 800-342-9980. By calling the addiction rehab specialist, you're taking the first steps to get help. Advisors are ready to match you with a proven treatment center that could help you end your drug or alcohol addiction once and for all. 800-342-9980. This call is completely confidential. Even if you've already been to treatment, give us a call. There is no need to let drugs and alcohol ruin your life one more day. Take the first step now. Call the Addiction Rehab Specialist at 800-342-9980. That's 800-342-9980. 800-342-9980. The Addiction Rehab Specialist is an advertisement for various treatment centers and placement services. Not all insurance is accepted. Individual results vary. Not available in Florida. Visit addictionrehabspecialist.com/terms for more information.
Sergeant Alberto Velasco faced an uncertain future after serving his country.
At the age of 27, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident. Mentally and physically, I was just done. I don't know where I would be without paralyzed veterans.
Winston Woodard III, Paralyzed Veterans of America.
My job as a service officer is to ensure these veterans have what they need to thrive and move forward with their lives. And we are there providing expertise with VA benefits, assistance, and advocacy.
Thank you, Paralyzed Veterans.
Learn more at pva.org, a public service of Paralyzed Veterans of America.